The mistaken enemy, the twin moons of Zithia, floated silently in the night sky. Below, thick red fog covered the battlefield ruins. Smoke still rose from shattered tanks, and dead machines littered the valley floor like broken toys. No one spoke. No one dared, except her, Lyra of the Crythari, young, fierce, trained in war since childhood. She crouched behind a scorched wall, her four-fingered hands gripping a plasma rifle. Her dark purple skin glistened with sweat. Her sharp amber eyes scanned the shadows. Another Terran signal, her comm crackled. "Shoot to kill," her commander said coldly. The enemy, a human, they said, had invaded their sacred grounds. And Lyra didn't hesitate. She spotted movement behind a collapsed shuttle. She took aim. She fired. A scream echoed. She had hit something. She rushed forward, ready to finish the job. The human, but what she found, stopped her heart. He wasn't armed. He wasn't even wearing armor. Just a torn jacket stained in blood and a bare hand raised in surrender. He coughed weakly, his eyes calm. "That wasn't necessary," he whispered. She froze. He was human, no doubt, but he wasn't fighting back. And in his other hand, he held a bandage roll, not a weapon. "You were helping the wounded?" she asked, confused. He nodded. "Even your people, bleeding to death back there." She looked behind her. It was true. 3 injured Crythari soldiers, hidden behind rubble. They were breathing, bandaged. Her eyes narrowed. Why would a human help us? He winced and sat down. Because not everyone follows orders. Her world shakes for the first time in her life. Lyra didn't know what to do. Her orders were clear. Shoot all humans. But this one had saved her kind. And she had just shot him. The decision. She lowered her rifle. "What's your name, Terran?" "Call me Cole," she sighed, her hands trembling. "I'm sorry, Cole." He smiled faintly. "Then help me stop the next one from bleeding out." And with that, Lyra made her first choice against the war. Shelter. In the wreckage, the wind howled through the broken battlefield, carrying the stench of burnt metal and war. Lyra moved quickly now, supporting Cole's wounded frame with one arm while clutching her rifle in the other. "There's a downed ship not far," she said. "Will we be safe?" Cole asked, his voice low. "Not from everyone," she replied. "But from the weather?" "Yes." Inside the broken ship, the entrance was shattered. Lights blinked dimly. Lyra kicked through debris and pulled Cole inside. As soon as they were in, he collapsed against the wall, breathing heavily. She grabbed an old supply kit, found water, and handed it to him. "Why did you stay behind?" she asked. "They were injured," he said simply. Didn't matter whose side they were on. She sat across from him, watching his hands, slowly bandaging his own leg with whatever cloth he had. "You don't act like a soldier." "I was once," Cole said quietly. "Now I help who I can." The hidden truth hours passed. Outside, thunder rolled. Distant artillery lit the sky. Inside, the 2 enemies sat in silence. Finally, Lyra broke it. "I thought all humans were killers. And I thought all Crythari were monsters." They both chuckled weakly. "Guess we were both wrong." Unseen danger suddenly. Movement outside. Lyra darted to the door. 3 figures, Crythari soldiers. "They'll shoot you on sight," she said to Cole. "Then hide me," he replied. She hesitated. "If they find you, I'll be charged with treason." "Then don't do it for me. Do it for the ones I saved." She makes her choice. Lyra took a deep breath. She opened a secret compartment under the floor, once meant for weapon storage. "Get in." Cole didn't hesitate. She sealed it just as the door burst open. The inspection, the soldiers stormed in. "We saw movement here," the leader barked. "Scavengers," she lied. "Gone now." They scanned the room. She stood still. Tension grew. Then one soldier kicked the panel near Cole's hiding place. He paused. She clenched her weapon. "Just rats," the soldier muttered. Then they left. A quiet moment. She opened the floor. Cole looked up, eyes wide. That was close. Too close. They both sat back, breathing hard. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Because I've never met someone who gave kindness." Without expecting something back. The storm outside. As the winds picked up, the ship creaked and groaned. But inside, a strange peace formed between them. Two enemies. Now something else. Something new. The commander's hunt. The next morning, a deep hum filled the air. A transport ship thundered above the ruined hills, kicking up dust and leaves in its wake. Lyra and Cole ducked low inside the wrecked shuttle, barely breathing. "What's that sound?" Cole whispered. Lyra looked. "Grim. It's him. Commander Varric, my superior." "Is he dangerous?" "He doesn't take prisoners." The arrival of Commander Varric, tall and covered in black combat armor, stepped onto the battlefield like a shadow. His reputation was known across the galaxy, merciless, sharp, and completely loyal to the Krythari war order. Behind him marched 4 hunter drones and a squad of elite warriors. "The enemy medic is hiding here," he growled. "Find the human, alive or dead, preferably dead." Lyra's blood ran cold. She knew what would happen if they were caught. Cole was barely healed. He couldn't run, preparing for a fight inside. The shelter, Cole quietly gathered supplies, an old energy blade, a cracked comm link, and a scrap of armor plating. "You planning to fight him?" Lyra asked. "If I have to," he replied, "but I'd rather not." She hesitated, then handed him her sidearm. "You'll need this more than me." "What about you?" "I know these ruins better. I'll draw them away." "Lyra, if they catch you." "They won't." Their eyes met. There was trust now, and risk. The distraction Lyra ran into the jungle ruins, firing her rifle into the sky. The drones followed immediately. "I found him!" she shouted, baiting the soldiers. But it wasn't Cole they found, it was an illusion. Smoke grenades, trip mines, her own traps. She led them in circles while Cole slipped through underground tunnels, toward a safer outpost miles away. Varric's suspicion commander Varric, however, wasn't fooled. He knelt beside the wrecked ship. He found a blood stain. Human blood. He touched it and narrowed his eyes. "She's hiding him." "Commander?" a soldier asked. Lyra has turned. His voice was cold and sharp. "Issue a bounty. Anyone who brings me the human and the traitor will be honored." On the run hours later, Lyra returned to find the shelter burned, but Cole's note was there. "Still breathing, keep running." "See." She smiled faintly, despite the danger. The bond between them was no longer just survival. It was loyalty. Maybe something deeper. Chased by their own now. Both were hunted, by Varric, by their own people. But neither regretted their choices. They were no longer just a human and a Krythari. They were something else. Something stronger. The crash site promise. The sky turned orange as the twin suns of Zithia began to set behind the rocky cliffs. The jungle's shadows grew long and cold. Cole moved carefully through the tall, alien grass. His wounded leg throbbed, but he didn't stop. Not yet. He reached the edge of a ravine. Below, an old shuttle crash site rested, half buried under vines and broken trees. Smoke still whispered out of its cracked engines. "This is it," he muttered. The place Lyra marked on the map. He slid down, gripping roots, ignoring the sharp sting in his side. He didn't have much time. Inside, the wreck Cole pried open the hatch and stepped inside. It was dark, cold, and silent. But deep inside, near the back wall, he found an old communication. core still faintly glowing. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small metal disc, an encoded Terran beacon. He inserted it. A soft hum. The signal blinked. "Come on, still work," he whispered. He wasn't just running. He was trying to call for peace. Lyra arrives. Minutes later, soft footsteps echoed at the door. Cole raised his weapon, then lowered it. Lyra stepped in, breathing heavily. Her armor scorched, one arm bleeding. "You made it," he said, helping her inside. "Barely," she answered, wincing. "Your plan better work." "I sent the signal. If anyone answers, it'll be soon." She slumped against the wall. "They declared me a traitor, Cole. My name is already burned from the soldier registry." He looked at her. "Why didn't you leave me behind?" She gave a tired smile. "Because I don't follow orders anymore. I follow what's right." The shared fire. That night, they lit a small fire in the metal husk of the shuttle. The jungle howled outside, but inside, it was calm. Cole handed her a ration bar. She accepted it silently. "You know," he said slowly, "I didn't expect to find anyone like you out here. And I didn't expect to shoot someone and end up sitting by a fire with them." They both laughed quietly, the kind of laugh that only comes when people have been through pain and found someone who stayed. The promised Lyra looked up at the stars, her voice soft. "If your people come, what will they do to me?" "That depends," he replied. "But I'll speak for you. I'll protect you. Even if they see me as the enemy, you're not my enemy." He reached into his pocket and handed her a small, shining pendant. "This was my sister's. She believed in peace, too." Lyra looked at it, eyes wide. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because I trust you." She clutched it gently, then whispered, "If we survive this, I promise I'll fight for peace, too." The beacon flashes. Suddenly, the communication core blinked faster. Cole stood. "It's working. Someone's coming." But neither of them noticed the red eye watching from the shadows outside. A drone. Varric's drone, recording everything and transmitting. Varric strikes first. The air felt different the next morning. Heavy. Like something terrible was coming. Cole stood at the crash site's edge, watching the jungle sway in the warm breeze. Lyra sat quietly beside the broken transmitter, her eyes not on the horizon, but on the small pendant he had given her. "Something feels wrong," she said softly. Cole nodded. His instincts told him the same. Then, the signal light on the transmitter stopped blinking. It turned red. "Signal's been jammed," he muttered. "They're here," Lyra whispered. "Varric found us." The trap suddenly, the sky screamed. A dark shadow flew overhead, a Krythari attack cruiser. Too fast. Too close. "Run!" Lyra yelled, grabbing Cole's hand. Missiles struck the crash site just seconds after they jumped into the jungle. The wreck exploded behind them, fire licking the trees, smoke choking the sky. They ran through the underbrush, stumbling, coughing. And then, freeze! A deep voice echoed from the trees. Commander Varric stepped out of the shadows, flanked by elite guards, his cold eyes locked on Lyra. So this is the traitor, and her pet human. Face to face, Cole stepped in front of Lyra. "She's not a traitor. She saved lives." Varric tilted his head. "You speak bravely, Terran, but that won't save you." Lyra gritted her teeth. "This war is wrong. You know it." Varric stepped closer. "War doesn't need to be right, only one." He raised his weapon, but then, boom! A sudden explosion knocked Varric back. Smoke. Dirt. Flare shot up. From the sky, a Terran ship descended. Reinforcements. The fight begins. Terran soldiers rappelled down, weapons raised. Lyra pulled Cole behind a fallen tree. "Your people came," she gasped. "Let's just hope they're here for peace." The forest turned into chaos, energy bolts flying, screams, fire. But even surrounded, Varric didn't fall. He moved like a beast, striking down anything in his path, until he reached Cole. The standoff Cole stood tall, weapon drawn. Varric raised his blade. "You think you're special, human?" "No," Cole said calmly. "I just know what I'm fighting for." They clashed, metal to metal, punches, fire, sparks. But then, Varric made a mistake. He underestimated Cole's speed, and with one precise move, Cole disabled his blade and pinned him to the ground. Victory, and warning Terran soldiers surrounded. Varric Lyra stepped forward, wounded but proud. "This war ends now." "You're both fools," Varric spat. "There are more like me, many more." But his voice was lost in the hum of the departing shuttle. Cole and Lyra looked at each other, alive, together, for now. Enemies at the table. 2 days later, the war zone was behind them. Cole sat in a large Terran conference hall, orbiting above Zithea, dressed in formal military uniform. His wounds were healing, but his thoughts still raced. Across the long metal table sat diplomats, Terran officers, and surprisingly, 2 Krythari delegates. And beside Cole, Lyra. Now dressed in neutral armor, her once warrior expression calmer, but her eyes still fierce. The tension builds. The room buzzed with tension. One Terran general leaned forward. "This is highly irregular. She fought against us," Cole replied calmly. "She also saved me. Risked her life for peace. That has to count for something." One of the Krythari delegates sneered. "She abandoned our army. She will never be Krythari again," Lyra spoke up. "Then I'll be something else. Something better." Cole's bold proposal. Cole stood. "I have a proposal." Everyone turned. A neutral task force, mixed Terran and Krythari, volunteers only, focused on rebuilding ruined zones, not fighting. Let those who want peace prove it. Silence followed. Then murmurs. Then arguments. One Krythari shouted, "You're asking us to work with your kind?" Lyra smirked. "You're afraid we might like it." The unexpected ally suddenly, someone entered the room. Varric bound, bruised, but alive. He was brought as a prisoner, but his voice still carried weight. "They're not wrong," he growled. "You think peace is weakness. But I fought them. I lost." He looked at Cole. "The human bled for her, and she for him. You may not like their idea, but it's stronger than yours." And then, he turned away. "Do what you want. I've said my part." The vote hours later, the diplomats took a vote. Hands raised, some hesitated. But in the end, the motion passed. The peace task force would begin with 12 members, 6 Terrans, 6 Krythari, led by Cole and Lyra, together. A quiet moment later, Cole and Lyra stood on the station's observation deck. The planet below looked peaceful from up here. "We did it," Cole said. "This is just the beginning," Lyra replied. "They'll watch us, doubt us. Then let's give them a reason to believe." She nodded, then, softly, "You gave me something I didn't think I could have." "What's that?" "Hope." A new kind of warrior. 6 months had passed. The war had stopped, not officially, not everywhere, but in many zones across Zithea and nearby systems. Guns were quiet, and people were watching something strange. Humans and Krythari working side by side. Cole and Lyra stood at the edge of a ruined Krythari village, now half rebuilt. Solar panels gleamed on rooftops. Children, Terran and alien, played in the dirt, tossing pieces of old metal like toys. "Remember when this place was ashes?" Lyra asked quietly. "Now it has gardens," Cole said. The mission grows. Their peace task force had grown from 12 to nearly 100, half human, half Krythari, all volunteers. They didn't carry heavy weapons. They carried tools, medicine, and translators, and something more powerful than any weapon, trust. A new threat, but peace never comes easy. One night, an old war faction ambushed the village. Explosions rang out. People screamed. Cole and Lyra rushed toward the flames. Lyra held her weapon tight, not to kill, but to protect. She saw a shadowy figure aiming at a young human girl, and without hesitation, she leapt in front of the child, absorbing the blast with her own armor. She fell. The cost of peace Cole dropped beside her, holding her in his arms. "Stay with me," he shouted. She blinked slowly, pain in her voice. "Is she safe?" "Yes. You saved her." She coughed, then smiled. Then it was worth it. Medical teams arrived. She was rushed to the aid center. She survived. Barely. The broadcast 2 days later, the moment the galaxy never expected, happened. Lyra, in bandages, sat beside Cole on a live broadcast streamed across both Terran and Krythari networks. She looked into the camera. "I was trained to hate him, but he taught me how to protect without hurting. To fight for life, not for pride." She paused, then added, "We are not enemies by birth. We are enemies by choice. But we can choose differently." The new warrior weeks later, Lyra returned to the village, not as a soldier, but as a teacher. She trained new recruits, not in killing, but in unity. And Cole? He stayed by her side, becoming a symbol of what peace between enemies could look like. People no longer whispered traitor behind her back. They said, "She's a new kind of warrior, one who fires not to destroy, but to protect." Final. Seen under the same twin moons where it all began, Cole and Lyra stood on a hill, looking at the lights of a village rebuilt by both species. "Do you still regret firing at me that first day?" Cole asked with a smirk. Lyra laughed. "Only because you didn't squeal." They both laughed. Not enemies, not even just friends, something stronger. Two souls who changed the galaxy, together.